Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan, I'm your host, and today, guys, we have Jake Maxey coming on the show. Little background of Jake: he's an electrical engineer, been in the industry. What are we at? 15, 20 years, 15
Yeah,
years.
you give me all the years you want, man.
More the better. 15 years and lived in California, went to Chico State, and then has moved all the way across the country, about as far away from California as you can get,
Mm.
to Plymouth, Massachusetts. So, now we get to hear about all the Boston things, which I don't know if they're going to be any better than all the California things. But
It's all the same.
I guess without further ado, welcome to the show, Jake.
Thank you very much, Dylan. Happy to be here, and one of the first interview episodes I've ever done. So this is awesome. Can't wait to just dig in.
Yeah, man. I guess let's start with how in the world did you get into engineering in construction, right? Of all the engineering things you can go do to decide to figure out how buildings get put together.
Yeah, this is great. It's a very non-traditional. Well, maybe people will relate, but I had no idea. When I decided to go to college, it was because somebody told me to, and my family was like, "You should try it because it seems like you'll get good paying work if you are educated and have a degree." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I said, "Let's go." And I'm like, "What am I going to do?" Well, my best friend was going electrical engineering, and I'm like, "I'll do it too." He was very well suited at the time to pursue that degree. He'd been an electrician, his dad was an electrician, he grew up with it. And he was very into it, always modified his cars with all these intricate controls and lighting systems and stuff like that. I think at one point he had a computer in his car so that he could do whatever he wanted with his heads-up display that he built, and this is like early 2000s. So um, always into it. So I'm like, great, I'll go with you. Um, School was tough. I got through it, but of course I was good at math, good at science. High school was just, straight A's for the most part, and it was a breeze kind of for me. So I was like, okay, let's go. College was much harder. Um, so I went through my whole career in studying electrical engineering. Um, yeah, interested, thought it was great. But I failed to see how it correlated to a great working job or a career path for me, being someone from a small town. Um, in California. And I was just like, I had some doubts halfway through, but I was like, I committed to this and I finished things I commit to, so I'm going to do it. And then so I got my degree. I immediately took the test to get my EIT certificate and just got that out of the way, just so I wouldn't have to do it later. Because at the time I decided not to. I'm like, I'm not going to do engineering. I was working at a restaurant and I was having a lot of fun and I was moving up into management. I'm like, oh, my entrepreneurial like bug started way back and I'm like, oh, I can open up multiple locations and here's how we can make the math work and it's gonna be really fun and I love working and this is gonna be great. Uh, did that for a few years after I graduated and then figured out at that time, based on a conversation with my grandfather, uh, about construction engineering, building systems. And I'm like, okay, never heard of it. But apparently, he started a business in the 80s, and it was a consulting firm. So I was like, okay, great. What's a consulting firm? Well, you do these things. Okay, cool. Introed me to the current management. He was out. He was out of that business, but still well known. One of his partners was still there, and that's how I got in. And here I am, 12, 13, 15, whatever years later.
Nice.
So,
That's awesome. One of the things too I want to hit on is like not only, non-traditional, whatever, right? Everybody kind of finds their own way through life in general. And it's those single conversations that can have a massive impact on it. But it's also like, doing a lot of the right things at the right moments. And one of those, like getting your EIT done right at graduation. I've seen guys that wait till the fall, they take it in October, or they wait a year and it's their pass rates go way down
mm,
on taking that stuff versus taking it in April of your senior year. It's like just get it out of the way, get it done, while everything's fresh, while you're in that mode of studying or all that kind of stuff. Like
yeah.
just get it done, in school.
Absolutely. If anybody's listening that's going through the engineering curriculum and they're going to graduate soon, and you don't think you're going to continue with it, I know that sounds crazy. Get the EIT anyway. Um, if you ever go back, like I did, uh, it's so much easier. Saves you months of studying. It's all fresh in your mind. You can just blow it away. And by the way, it doesn't have a lot to do with being a PE. So basically all the material you have to relearn years later to pass it. So save yourself the trouble.
Yeah, I mean it's all that general basic engineering knowledge. Are you sufficient enough in engineering things to move on to the next step, right? That's all it is. And then it's 4 years working for somebody, and then you go take your PE exam, which is
Right.
definitely a lot more applicable uh,
Yeah.
across the board. So cool, man. What'd you think about when you got into consulting? Obviously a transition from pizza shop to, sitting in a cubicle somewhere is, quite different, but how
Yeah.
was that transition for you?
It was an opportunity that I took advantage of because I knew somebody that could get me a job, even though they weren't really hiring at the time. So I took whatever they could give me. It was an opportunity back in my hometown, and for me, I was like, yeah, I don't want to go very far from home back then. So this is great. I can go back home and get a job. My wife took a great job in that town. So basically, getting into that, when I, it's funny when I interviewed, it was. So, tell us about what you know about building systems engineering. And I'm like, absolutely nothing. But I'll make you a great pizza. You give me 20 minutes, we're going to be eating some good food. And they all thought that was pretty funny. It was a good laugh. Um, but yeah, in all seriousness, it was something to put my mind to. It was something to work through the details, very structured, method, logical path. That engineering mind, of course. So that was really easy to feed on. I love it. I love structure. I love routine. Um, but then, you also see the complexity behind it, the juggling of things as you learn what a career job actually is. People are still involved, so we all still have to be humans and talk to each other. And I've been, I've changed a lot in my life, but I've been, I can talk to people. I'm very just amenable, happy, energetic. See like, hey, if we're not moving forward and getting things done, and we all enjoy it, why else would we be here? Why would we go through life being miserable, yelling at each other all the time, picking each other apart? Like, that's not great. And some of that happens in engineering. So for me, the engineering's fun. Uh, I do like assembling a great set of contract documents that I know is going to just be killer in bid. I know that the authority is going to, there's going to be no questions, man. I've got it all. It's going to be great, smooth. Love doing that. But I liked a lot more where I was taken pretty quickly, which was client facing management, trying to bring teams together and continue building relationships for the company, which turns out to be very important, right? And some engineers, well, like many of them, as far as I could see, were great engineers, but not like very excellent salesmen or making people feel at ease or getting the thing going in the right direction, and making the client feel like, yes, okay, these guys are team players. They're on the right path. They understand me, and and we feel very comfortable moving forward with them. I don't know why, but I happen to be good at that. So that's where I went pretty quick. So love the engineering, kind of like the leadership and business development more. I don't know if I answered the question, but
No, man. I mean, it's really, again, about getting your start, getting, to where you are today, right? That's everybody's got a unique story on how they approach it, how they go about it, the type of projects they want to do, right? Where they want to fit. And I mean, that's really the beauty of construction as a whole is that, look, you can take this in a lot of different ways. You can build, specific project types from super complicated to like, you know, pipelines, manufacturing facilities, big, heavy industrial to kind of cookie cutter multifamily projects, right? Like those are two very different ends of the spectrum. Pricing is very different, engineering is very different,
Yep.
and everything in between, right? Hospitals, offices, schools, manufacturing facilities. There's a lane in there for a lot of people doing a lot of different things to make everything that we have in the world around us kind of work and function and what people want to do.
Yep.
So there's no, in my mind, there's not really I mean, there are right and wrongs, but there's not really a right or wrong path for somebody to take. It's, hey, what are you interested in? What do you want to pursue? And for the most part, there's usually an avenue for you to do that.
Yeah, and you can always find it after you dive in. You can always move around. I always said, I don't really care what we're engineering as long as I get to lead a team and we get to kick ass and do a good job and people are happy with the usefulness of our service. That's why like we could design street lighting for every municipality in this entire nation, one after another. If we get to play as a team, win, and be useful, I'm in. So I wasn't really ever tied to one project type or industry per se, but I've done a lot of different things because most companies that I worked for don't really have like a super focused specialty, and even if they did, they still picked up other work. So I've done a lot of things, but
Yeah, that's the neat thing about being on like the engineering side, I will say, across the industry, right? Because architects typically get very much pigeonholed into they do schools or they do offices or they do healthcare, right? Or they're kind of your utility player, right? They'll do a little bit of everything. They're maybe not great at one thing, but they're solid, they're good, and they do a lot of that kind of blocking and tackling when it comes to the architectural space. Uh, construction firms are very much the same. They kind of get holden to either we're great at this thing or we do a little bit of everything. We're that utility player, and engineers almost by default end up being that. Now, I think there's some that have been they put themselves into like mission critical facilities is the one that I see the most of, like, that's a pigeonhole, but that ends up being like heavy industrial manufacturing data centers, super complicated projects, and then they can always come over to like offices and some other stuff. But I think by the nature, which kind of makes MEP firms unique, is that we are and I would say structural engineers, but a building's a building for the structural guys for the most part. I'm saying
mhm.
that it's like that shit is also very complicated. Those guys are like, if you see anyone with an SE behind their name, like super smart and putting all that together and
Yeah.
taking a lot of liability for the structural building. But by nature, MEP is like, it's so diverse in the type of projects that we take on because it's so utilitarian across, like, yeah, there's more codes in healthcare than there are for an office. But, if you do the more complex stuff, you can always come down to, the simpler, types of projects. From an engineering standpoint, it
Yeah.
translates pretty well.
That's what I've always liked about this industry is that the building blocks are very much the same. It's the approach, what you need to do from when, international building codes are presented and adopted, all the way down to what you need to submit in your contract documents is it's a lot of the same. It's just it differs per project and you take a different strategy and what matters um, differs depending on the project you're on. But really, electrical distribution is electrical distribution. Lighting and lighting controls is that's it. Fire alarm, what is the purpose? Like we know all these parts and pieces, and so I love the ability to just like, okay, go in with no fear on a project because we know the steps and we know where to look and how to formulate this. It's just we need to dig in on what this owner cares about. What are the industry best practices for like you're thinking about the back end with the maintenance crews. Like somebody at a hospital is going to care very, very much differently than someone like, managing an office building. It's going to be way different. So you're thinking about what do they care about? How are we setting them up for success? We can't design this building to be a complete pain in the ass for the next 20 years for this person or this organization that's going to run it, you know? Um, so while there's codes, you follow the codes, there's life safety. That's a big part of it, right? That's why we have that PE license, and and it's very prescriptive. I love how prescriptive it is. Um, Energy's maybe a little bit of a different story. You can get into some modeling there. You can get into some non-prescriptive pathways. You get creative. That's fine. Um, but for the most part, you're following the book. But then it's great to have that structure. But then it's like there's this whole other layer to it where you need to dig in and know the history behind some of these project types, what has gone wrong in the past for, like, say, a nightclub versus a hospital, right? Versus a semiconductor fab versus like an R&D, research and development section of this huge life sciences building, and apply that to that structure. So that's always fun. So just to give your audience a little more peeling behind the curtain of an AEC, an architectural engineering construction type of career pathway, that's where your creativity can flow, is in the application for each specific need, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think when we start to dive into like a given project type or owner, it's really not only understanding like the project type itself, right? Office building, hospital, whatever. It's also understanding what the owner needs down the road, who they are, what they've maybe their expansion plans. Do they have anything short term, long term? Do we need to plan for anything else? Is it right after this? Or, they shelling out a hospitals do this quite often where they'll shell like their cancer center or a floor or three until they get some donors or some money in that they then want to, populate with a cancer center with somebody's name on it. So a lot of that, is to ask those questions around the ownership group of what's coming down the road. What do you see moving forward? What would you like to do out of this space? Do you have any expansion plans? Can we plan for that in a cost effective manner down the road where doing it now, and burying pipes and putting stuff in place to where it doesn't cost a lot extra now to do, but it'll save you a lot down the road. Like, for example, I've got a 130-year-old courthouse that I'm working on, and we're upgrading all the electrical services for it so they can start to do renovations down the road and basically set panels that they can tie to whenever they do their renovations.
Mm-hmm.
There. Also, their fire alarm system is extremely old. And it's like, well, we plan on doing this too down the road. It's like, okay, well, let's stub some conduits in the walls of this really old building so that the next guy doesn't have to, find the pathways or anything like that, that it's all there in place for what we're already doing. And somebody's already opening ceilings and walls and everything else. Like, let's just take care of it now. I get that it adds scope to this project for you guys, but it'll ultimately save you, tens of thousands down the road of just labor.
Yeah, totally. And I see us engineers as being conduits for like the owner to the maintenance staff or the people that aren't in the building all day long and keeping it going, you know? And that's where we get to insert ourselves into being useful because there's the code and you do it to code. That's great, but to make it more useful, it's like, when I was doing lab buildings, the maintenance people or the contractor, the electrician that was on contract to do small jobs always, and they got everything that was a minor change in the building, like adding a branch circuit. I talked to them when I was on site. It's like who's the company, and then catch them in the hall and be like, hey, got a second? And it's kind of weird, and they're like, what? I got a million things to do. What do you want? You get a little bit of pushback, and it's like, hey, I'm doing this job down the hall and you guys are going to do it because it's like it's a small project. when we put this panel board in, I'm thinking it might be a good idea to run some spare conduits to a box that's accessible in the hallway and put in a bunch of spare breakers with wires landed, coiled up there for you because I heard that you, of course, no live work. So you make one little change, you're shutting this panel down, and then the lab users are shut down while they're doing the work, and that's a big deal. They got to plan it. It doesn't always work. It's drug out forever. I'm like, you just get to turn the breaker off and do dead work above the thing, and everything else is on, right? That's still running. And they're like, oh, that's really, we do that. His response was, we do that a lot. And I'm like, oh, okay, I was never. That's not part of the spec book or the requirements book that we got from ownership. Yeah, a little bit of a disconnect there. But if you dig in, you talk to people, you build those relationships. It's like, oh, we get to be that conduit that makes their lives easier. We get to be useful. And that's what I like to say. Um, and, and once NLS has employees, one of the biggest things we're gonna do is be useful. Um, I don't know where I was going with that, but you get this is part of why I think being an engineer in this industry is fun.
No, I love that, man. I mean, you bring a lot of things to the surface because, at the end of the day, we have those meetings, right? As the engineer record for a project, we're at the table with the ownership group, the contractors, like everybody, right? The AC meetings, that's us sitting there, architect, engineer, contractor, owner. Um, and usually it's the GC for those meetings. And funny, I'll take a little side quest here. So the
Yeah.
uh few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, I was doing a presentation and talk, and I was on a panel at Santa Clara University talking to obviously a bunch of college students about construction, what you can do, and all this kind of stuff. And one guy, he was a young guy that just became a project manager, was on the panel, and he's like, "Hey, how do I get into those like AEC meetings? It looks like that's the bell of the ball, right? Everybody's having a good time and everybody's jovial." And I'm like, that's true when projects are going good, right? When projects are awesome, like AEC meetings are fine. You're just going through, like making approvals, doing some choices, right? Going down the
Yeah.
list of stuff, just owner updates. Here's where we are in the process. Here's how everything's happening. But
Yeah.
if like you're behind schedule, things are over budget, stuff got missed in the drawings or in the contract, or there's a scope gap that the GC missed, right? Those meetings go real bad.
Yeah.
So, it's you get the ups and you get the downs, right? It's heavy as the head that wears the crown. And I want to just, relay that message to some of the guys that might be in the field or that think that they're missing out and being in some of those meetings. It is, again, when they're good, they're good, but when they are brutal, they are brutal.
Yeah, there's always that grass is greener on the other side thing, but I'll just I'll let you guys in on a little secret. Uh, that's not true. It's never greener. It's just another field with all its own problems. It still has shit, still has potholes, still has stuff to grab your ankle and break it. Like it still's got weeds. It's just, all you're just on the other side of the fence. Um, I will say one thing though that like don't let the lows get you too low and then on the inverse don't let the highs get you too high. Just try and stay like even keel and be useful and solve problems. Because every minute you spend being pissed off, anxious, worried, whatever it is a minute you're not spending towards the solution. And I know that's really easy to say and harder to execute. And I am one to, you talk to my brothers growing up, Jake had a temper. He was a little firecracker and would just destroy things just to destroy things. So totally not saying I'm above that all. I'm just saying like it does help and it's a skill that you need to develop over a long period of time. Because I've been in meetings where people are just screaming. And yes, screaming is not helpful. Like it doesn't get to the resolution. Um, but if you just kind of stay calm, you can get to the solution real quick. And a quick example is lead times on switchgear, right? And so in COVID, it was just atrocious. And you couldn't spend money, even though the people I was working for had all the money to spend in the world, and it wasn't a problem. That wouldn't even move them up in the queue. Uh, so it was about, oh man, this is going to be late and we're not going to start the building and the tenants are going to be pissed. Okay, great. That's not. we can't just solve that out of the blue. What are we going to do? Well, we don't know what to do. Well, what is holding the switchboard up? What is it? So we got the electricians in, we're talking about it. And we got the suppliers in, and then they didn't have answers. And we're like, someone has to give us answers to these things. There's a piece, and someone finally came up with, oh, it's the resin in the molded case circuit breakers and the electronics in the trip units. Made sense. We were hearing about electronics all over the place, holding things up. But mainly it was like this resin they were using to build the breakers. And it's like, okay, great. So we can ship the whole container, the busing, and everything, build the concrete pad, put the conduits in, bolt it all down, do all the testing for that, get all the feeders hanging there, and then as soon as the breaker shows up, we can put it in. Yeah, we could totally do that. Oh, or we can install a switch, and then we make it easy to trade out when you want your coordination because the breaker is the trip unit on it. We got all the settings. Cool. We'll achieve coordination maybe a month or two after we have the thing going, and that's fine. Get plan a shutdown, whatever it is, right? But you just stay calm and you just get through it. And it ended up like we all made a bunch of phone calls, and one of the electricians called some guy that had one of the breakers that we needed sitting in a box, like a shipping box, next to his desk that they didn't need on a project whatever time ago. He's like, I got one sitting right here. I was like, oh, what's the spec? Oh, we could totally use that. It's missing this one thing, but that's not critical. Cool. It shows up and they install it. It's like we could all be pissed off at each other, or we could all just get the thing done, you know?
Yeah, it goes to being solution minded, right? Are you
Yeah.
trying to solve the problem or are you trying to point blame? And I think,
Yeah.
in the sometimes and often litigious society, everybody's trying to cover their own ass. And even like on LinkedIn and stuff, like I can't even scroll through it anymore because, everybody's just they're complaining or blaming one thing or another. And, if you were just solution minded around, you know, or saying, here's the things that I went and did, here's the solutions that we went and created. Here's, like if you just pick up the phone, it's amazing what can happen, right? With
Yes.
people. And so a lot of this, in the construction industry, it's like, don't be afraid to pick up your phone. Don't be afraid to call somebody. Don't be afraid to, go and to their office and have a conversation with them, right? Emails are easy to delete and get lost in the abyss, where a phone call showing up, is harder to ignore. So a lot of the time, again, if you focus on solutions and being solution oriented, right? And then you figure, so one of two things will happen. You'll either figure out blame later, or because you solved the problem, it all went away. Right? It's when
That's
it's when it doesn't get solved that then the owner's mad, right? And then they're looking for
yeah.
somebody to blame. But if it's done, it's completed, it's finished, it's working, right? Everything that they were mad about, like now doesn't matter. They got the result they wanted, from everybody working. And then, when you communicate that effectively, like here's all the things we did, here's all the, you know, struggles we went through, here's how we ended up solving this, and telling that story, it usually, mitigates any problems that you would have. It's the equivalent of
Yeah.
bedside manner for engineers.
There you go.
The better bedside manner you have, the less likely you're going to be to get sued, right? Or have any legal issues down the road. So be
Yep.
solution minded more than anything. And I love that story, right? It's when guys start making phone calls or finding solutions, it's amazing what happens.
Yeah. There was a lot of that at that time. Big generators getting split into two and paralleling them up. UPSs that just weren't available, right? Big central UPSs. It's like, oh, well, we have an old one sitting in a building we decommissioned a year ago. It's like I went out there and looked at it. I'm like, it's not quite rated for what we needed, but it'll get you by, and it'll get you the intent until your new one shows up. Cool. Just drug it out of there and threw it in the building. It's great.
Yeah,
Um,
it gets them up, it commissions them. And even still, like we're looking at data center projects and things like that, and it's like, man, these big transformers are a year out,
mhm.
12, 15 months. And so, now we can have those conversations with owners because we're getting real time like pricing and lead times. It's like, oh, if you want to do this, here's what your lead times look like. Here's what your pricing looks like for these today. Can't guarantee this a month from now, but this is what it is
Right.
today. And the same on generators. Like, hey, we can do this. Here's the lead times for these. Depends on what your footprint is for your site or where you're thinking to build one. But
Hmm.
hey, we can stack them, or we start building platforms or whatever else, depending on what you want to do for your site conditions, and we'll figure it out when we get there. But like, here's everything that you can do, or we know today, based on what we know of your future plans.
Yep. And there's a lot of opportunity for engineering firms that will get out there and do that and ask the hard questions and stand behind their decisions and quite frankly have the balls to order some equipment and get it going. It's only going to get the grid's only going to get more squeezed too. So if you're doing a big interconnect project, that's it could be years of design if it's big enough. So you got to get up there, you got to get in front of it, and don't be scared to make some buddies with whoever's developing these sites and handle the utility coordination for them. Get me in there now. Let's start the conversations. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, my experience has been, once you can get to an actual engineer within the utility company, which is like, it's probably worse to get into Fort Knox uh, to get to one of those guys. But
That's another thing.
once you're assigned a guy and you have a contact for somebody and you start working with them, usually things go like pretty smoothly because they want to solve the problem too, right? They're
Yeah.
like, okay, we understand your loads, we understand, what you're going to put in here. You've done, a lot of work on this or whatever. So then they're willing to work with you once the two of you are actually able to get together. And that, once you have the team assigned, it usually goes so much better. But it's getting to that point, or having enough information from the owner to then have the conversations with the utility. And this all goes to, it's accountability, right? Do you accept accountability and responsibility for decisions on a project? And I think, honestly, in looking at LinkedIn, it's like, this is what holds everybody back. Like, you're not willing to make decisions, and you're not willing to like take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah, and I usually see that in the form of not getting hired and layoffs and stuff. It's like, guys, do you realize that you're telling the world basically uh, that I think that the hiring process is flawed. I've done all these things and it's still not working for me, and I'm a whiner and I can't figure out a way to get noticed, and I'm just going to complain here on LinkedIn. Like I've had very blunt conversations with people and they just don't like the truth. It's like, and I have a friend that does the same thing that's actually like makes it a point to help people and get into multiple different industries. So he'll find someone, everyone that I find that's posting and complaining, I try to do them a solid. I'm like, hey, you don't know me, and me saying these things, yes, is going to be a pain in the ass. It's probably going to hurt. You're going to want to like be like, who the hell are you? Sure, but if you can get past that, if you would just do X, Y, and Z, and by the way, link up with my friend here and ask him his opinion. He has free office hours to get you going on LinkedIn. He's pro. Just do what he says, and it'll work, right? Completely no. Don't do it. You're too abrasive. It's and then you see nothing happen with the profile. Yeah, so I get what you're laying down. I see it in the hiring and in candidates, with all these accolades and they list everything they know and do. And I speak 5 languages and I've gone to this school and I have this PhD and there's just nothing and I've been turned down so much. What's wrong with all? It's like because what you're doing isn't working.
Yeah, you clearly
It's
suck.
totally sidetracked, but
No,
uh,
this
I think
it's
it applies.
it's super apt. Well, I mean, for anybody coming up, right? Like, you're trying to either get a new position. The biggest thing, frankly, the best time to get a job is when you have a job. It's not when you're unemployed, because then the market's basically like, what's wrong with you? So, first and
It's
foremost,
a
that,
huge advantage. Yep. Yep.
if you're looking to switch, do it while you have a job, not quit and then figure it out.
Yep.
Like, figure it out, then quit. Uh, is going to be in your best interest, honestly. And
But
then
Dylan, I'm a student and I graduated and I haven't had a job yet. This is why it's not working for me. I have so many disadvantages.
the student thing, so that's, again, the same deal, right? Same things apply. And on the student side, so like, I went to a small engineering school, right? Well renowned for engineering. And out of a 2,000 person student body, we had 500 companies show up, for career fairs. And so this is what I always tell students is like, if you're not going to events, if you're not going to career fairs, if you're not taking interviews or, trying to apply for jobs, figuring out ways to stand out, the simplest things will go a really long way. For like a cover letter, it's here's how I can help you. Here's what I've done that'll help the firm and how I can be a productive member of your team immediately. Like, spend some time to write some cover letters. If you're just submitting a resume, you're just like everybody else. You're not,
Yep.
you, nothing stands out from you. And then if you can find an email, which is not hard for HR or the department manager that you're trying to get into, like send a video, record a unlisted link on YouTube, right? So like it's not public and you just send them a YouTube link to watch a video. Like there's a lot of ways to be creative around this, but you number one have to like care, right? Like about getting a job. You have to want to be a productive member of a team. And for all the people that are complaining, you typically want none of that. And so I don't care. Like, why should I care in hiring you and paying you whatever, your
Taking a bet on you. Yep.
salary is, right? I'm paying anywhere from 5 to 15 grand a month, depending on how good you are, plus benefits, which is another 30% of that, right? So I'm paying another, call it 2 grand to 5 grand a month, right? Just on benefits, which nobody understands any of that either as an employer, right? We're paying, 30% more of your salary in taxes, health insurance, all the other crap we got to go through and, pay more taxes on you. So, right, nobody understands that. Nobody cares. Got it. But like, if you're an employee and you want to go work somewhere, care about the place you're going to work. Like, how can you be a productive team member? And usually, like those firms, they want you to succeed. They don't want you to be a bump on the log and like whiny, complainy bitch. You're not going to last,
Exactly.
anyway. So they want you to succeed. They want you to learn stuff. They want you to get certificates. They want you to be a productive team member. Companies want that, at least the ones that win, they want that type of stuff. And
Yep.
so, and then also everybody is looking at your social profiles. So if you're, you
You're a
know,
complainer, you're out, guys.
yeah, like LinkedIn, Instagram, or if you're showing
Yep.
like, you getting shit faced on the weekends, like I get it, we've all been there, but like don't put it on the internet.
Yeah. Right. Just more information to make a decision on, and it's not going to go in the way that you want it to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll lay it out here for people. Okay, and let me talk specifically because it's all nuanced and there's all these things. Okay, I get it. Argue with yourself to the end of time. But if you just listen to this, please consider. Okay. If you're a student, consider going to every single event. It doesn't matter whether you know what you want to do or not. You are there to explore and learn that. Okay? You're there to be useful. You want to go provide a useful service for somebody. And I can guarantee you, if you don't show up and exclude 99% of the people at the career fair because you only want to work for this company that has the line out the door that sees a million people, uh, not a great strategy. Okay. When you start out, get a internship, get a job, unpaid or otherwise. It doesn't matter. Start gaining relationships. Reach out to people for the reason to connect, see what they have going on, see what their pain points are, what do engineers that solve problems for you do and act and how do they behave? Learn all of these things and do it from the very beginning. If you're still in high school, do it in high school. Go to the not There's so many nonprofit organizations that are mentorship based and have a mission that helps you, right? And I can talk about one of those at the end of this. Do it for a it needs time has to pass. Do it for a long time. You will get better at it. You'll wipe all the nonsense pre-negotiated why I can't do this crap out of your mind as you go. A lot of this is mindset stuff. And I know that's all woo woo, but you know what? It's been proven. Okay. and in my own career and the people that I know and I talk to, is why I run a podcast of my own based on mentorship. Okay. I see it happen and I get the texts back and I get the results. All right. So without going completely further into that, just do it, do the effort, take the action consistently for a long time, and you'll thank yourself so much for it. You'll have built so much of a network, relationships, and knowledge and skill, because finding a job is a skill. Okay. And you'll have a much better likelihood of success. Certainly much better than having done none of that and having learned no skills, right? And starting from scratch when you graduate. Okay. Another thing you can do, flip everything in verse on its head. What would give me the best chance of success of never being hired ever? I would certainly post on LinkedIn that I am sick and fucking tired of all the people that say I need 10 years of experience and it's an entry level job. I know all these things and have done all this work and have done everything Jake Maxey ever said, and it still hasn't worked for me. Um, on and on and on, right? Or I would certainly not go to any career fairs. I would certainly not garner any sort of relationship with anybody that is connected to the industry that I want to be in. And I would certainly not put effort into writing a great cover letter, resume, learning the things that I need to learn, and taking the chances I need to take. So I'll definitely not do that. So let's just do all the opposite of that a lot for a long time. It's gonna work out.
Yeah. No, man, it's so true. Like uh I had to, we started go down the hiring path and like how to advance in your career and starting out. And, lately I've just gone through and seen a bunch of that. And it's so annoying and frustrating to see from guys that it's like, and some of it's like, man, what am I doing wrong? But it's like, no, they're all complainers. And, it is what it is.
But we
So,
got to keep fighting the good fight, though. We got like we have to do it nonetheless because
yep.
we're gonna help somebody. Somebody's gonna take it and run with it.
Well, and that's just it, right? Positive stories don't get as much traction as negative ones. So, that's just
Correct.
is by nature.
And this is mindset stuff, not really like tactical, but like go you can learn the tactics. Just look it up. Like, so many coaches and just things online. But most people want to do a good job. They're just kind of lost and they're fighting against themselves and they don't even know it. Um,
Yeah, like if you ignore the internet, the world becomes less noisy, right? Like just
yes.
did a article on this. It's like if you put your phone down and turn the TV off and just like walk around your neighborhood, walk around town, like you have no problems, right? Like I saw a little meme and two guys are sitting by the fire, right, in camp chairs or lawn chairs, and they got beer sitting on the little table next to them, right? And they get one guy's on his phone and he like puts it down and puts it away, and it's like the problem meter goes to zero as he puts his phone down face down.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, right, just have a beer, sit by the fire, enjoy company, and life is pretty good, man.
Yeah, don't even get me going on that.
Well, what you know
We'll save it for another time.
to segue this a little bit into um really where you think the industry's heading, right? We've talked about getting a job, getting in the industry. There's a lot you can do in construction, in engineering, uh, but kind of where do you see the future of it? Let's say you're established in your career, you've been doing it a little while, but what's kind of next? Where do you see things heading, Jake?
This is where inexperience will play a hand in overall market moving, future of engineering. Who fucking knows, dude? Like for me, I'm very focused right now on being useful, doing the things that I know result in growing a bootstrapped young business. So this is what I'm focused on. And this would be part of my discussion on the noise of the internet, right? There are so many things to learn and to do. We certainly cannot know all of them. And even if we focused on one forever, we wouldn't be the best in the world. The chance that we would be the best in the world is very low. Okay, so then everything in between. How much do we learn, pay attention to, focus our energy on? There's only so much we can do. So I must stay focused. So as far as knowing where the industry is moving, I can give you uh, where I think businesses will have a competitive advantage uh, in the marketplace.
Yeah.
I can give you um, how I think businesses will be successful moving forward. There's a lot of, and for me, it's from a perspective of where do we, and this is very business nerdy, but like, where do we put our dollars that we have, our cash flow that we get to reinvest in the business? Where do we put it to get the best return on our capital for our service-based business? And what has AEC typically done? What are they scared to do? What mindsets get in the way of potentially increasing their chance of success um, deploying their dollars? Um, and these are the things that I'm thinking about. So this is what I'll give you. Like, I think the future of an engineering firm is going to be, well, first, AI is going to limit the number of employees required. Okay, straight up, completely. This is a true, this is as true as I ever think true is going to be. Okay, I think there's going to be more bigger companies that provide more output and with less people. That is what it is. Um, and I think AI is going to help people do that. And then automation will help people do that in a very focused way too, which I think is what you do. I think you offer that automation aspect, which I think is great. Um, then I think we can start thinking more strategically with advertising. I think advertising and especially social media is like still this thing for AEC that's not really done well. I've seen a lot of people on it, which is great. But when you really talk to people about their strategy and what they're trying to do, and what are your numbers, what are you tracking, where have you seen success, what's your ad campaign strategy, there are no answers, at least for the people I've talked to. But I'm gaining more and more exposure every day. So I think the future is going to be, hey, who can break that for AEC as well? So, and then talent. So I think there's I see a lot of stuff changing for talent acquisition, how people are thinking about engineering talent. Um, there's some people that are like we should deregulate and break businesses apart and we should all just be solo. We should all go out. It's super value based and get paid what we're paid and the companies just take all our money and all we're doing is building their future, not ours. Great, wonderful. I see a lot of that. But for companies themselves, and in my business, I'm really going to take just as seriously as client acquisition and repeat business, which is very important. Doing a great job um, selling your services and proving to your clients that you will have their best interests in mind, have their back, and actually bring the results that they need, including financial results, um, as a part of their bet that they're making on whatever they're building. Um, just as much as I focus on that, I'm going to focus on hiring great talent here in the US. And it's going to be, uh, I don't know, it's going to be a little different than I've seen. I'll tell you that. And, in 10 years, 20 years, I'll let you know how it worked out for me. But I think the people that innovate in acquiring talent, how they spend their capital and reinvesting, and especially advertising, um, yeah, I think those are going to be the big things that I'm going to be focusing on. So I see the industry going in the people that can execute on those things really well are going to be some big winners.
Yeah, I mean, AI automation is going to be here. It's been here, right? And then it's how it's implemented. I mean, we built AI or Revit add-ins, right, to automate placement for all your electrical devices across the entire model. So, I mean, that's been here for a long time. We did it back in 2018. So when we, first built it. So only
Yeah.
got it from there, right? You add more stuff, it becomes better. Pretty straightforward, and progression of code and how software works, right? You just get better with every iteration of it. So that's been here. And then, how do you harness it? How do you use it? How do you execute on projects with it? Um, that's a whole different conversation. But the tech has been here, continue to get better. I'm one that I don't think AI won't necessarily be in the fully in the design world. It's the data silos and data files are too segmented in how we build stuff, right? Because you got from a somebody gave you a chicken scratch napkin of like what they want, on top of a PDF that's on top of a Bluebeam markup that's on top of a CAD file that might have a Revit model built to it, but everything else below the Revit model, right? Napkin, uh, Bluebeam, PDF, CAD, like you can't do anything smart with any of those documents. And then because it's a proprietary file type to Autodesk, none of the AI models are going to be able to run anything against it because it's a proprietary file type, unlike a doc or a PDF. So that's like the one big one that I think everybody overlooks for the AEC industry is like our file types are so segmented just in a data stack where that's a hard one to overcome. And then all because everybody treats also with all the building models as proprietary, secret, blah blah, whatever. You're not going to be that's not going to be in a public accessible database for everybody to train a given model on. So then it's all internal stuff, and then that company with the most data sets for it, or like us software company that's had the most models to train on privately is going to win long term when it comes to that type of automation and AI. But that's my big, probably not obvious take on the AI piece for AEC when it comes to models, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, the
Right.
rest of the contracts, field stuff, a lot more accessible data and information.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm like the lowest on knowing AI, but I certainly play with it, use it, explore um, every day. And I feel like it's just one of those things you got to know or you're going to be really, really behind. And then I look at it as an enhancement of my efficiency and as a nice tool for the right application. It certainly helps me save a lot of time. And that's all I can spend right now building this business is my time. I have very little leverage um, right now that I can deploy. I do have some. The supply of licensed electrical engineers with the experience I have is pretty low for my specific market in this area. So that's a plus. That's something that I can leverage for sure. Um, but other than that, it's spending time right now. So, and AI can't spend time for me. It can't go to the events and ask the certain, you know, person in the solar PV uh, financial analysis market certain questions about how do electrical engineers fit in and where in your integration can a stamped engineer help you out. They can't answer that for me. So they can't put my face out there yet, and in person. Um, so use it what it's useful for to make yourself more useful.
Yeah,
That's
and I
it.
think the other big piece, as we try to start landing this plane, is um, not only time, relationships, right? But I like what you said about having like the long-term vision, right? You said things in 5 and 10 year increments, right? I think that's it does take that long to build something, right? To create a firm, a culture, an environment. It's a 5 and 10 year horizon and time frame. And in between that, the daily actions that you can do today, right? That is literally the only things you can do. You kind of got to know where you're going, but at the same time, like to focus on today and events and pack your calendar with people because
Yep.
that's what this industry is built on. If you don't have relationships with owners or contractors or utilities and anybody in between, nobody can send you a contract, which means you don't get work or paid to do anything. So you got to know somebody that's going to send you a contract or a PO at the end of the day. That's what makes the world go around.
The end of the day, business is still business. You got to do actual paid work. Which, you know, sitting behind a computer, sending out like a cold email campaign and a call campaign has its effectiveness, and I still get to spend time. And it has a certain reply rate and leads to certain contracts being signed, certain dollar amounts. That's great. I know all those numbers. Going to events in person and asking the right questions, because you got to be good at it. You don't just go to events and all of a sudden you got all this work. You got to be good at what you're doing. You have to have a strategy. You have to implement it. You have to know what questions to ask, how to present yourself. But yeah, much more effective to be out in the world, asking questions and making relationships and trying to be useful.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's in-person events are probably some of the most powerful thing you can do. And if you're, in college or young guy in your career, asked to go to those events, whether that's for architects obviously have AIA, but Design Build Association, economic forums, some of the other construction associations that are out there. There's a lot of, your ASHRAE meetings, your IEEE meetings, like go and just participate in them. And for a while, especially if you're young, like you won't have anything to contribute, but showing up again and again is the recipe for success. You'll ultimately have something to contribute, but it's the people you meet there, especially that are also young in their career, that you'll know for the next 20 years. And, you do all the work with or work adjacent to or recruit, or they recruit you over the
Yep.
years. That's how it works, is going to those events and who you know and how they know you, and, to continually show up for people over a long period of time.
Yeah, man. Get out there.
All right. With that, Jake, any last words of advice for this episode that you'd like to leave the audience with, and then where can they find you?
Well, I would say take action is my advice always. Do things, despite how you feel about them, despite your pre-negotiations when you're tired at night and the next day you're just like, man, I don't want to do that, or what's the point? Um, just build in a non-negotiable in that, and you'll thank yourself hugely. If you have anxiety, action fixes it. Anxiety is just you're not as prepared for something as you could be to make you not feel anxious about it. So you have work to do. That means that action needs to be taken. That's kind of how I view it. Whenever I get anxiety on something, I figure out really what it is and then I attack and I just take action and I feel really good about it later. So, um, my advice is always going to be just to take action. Um, I guess, I want to talk about the ACE mentorship program. It's for architects, engineers, and construction management folks, high school age, freshman to senior, can participate. It's a national program. You will have local chapters, so look them up. ACE Mentorship Program. It is a nonprofit. It's all made up of volunteers. I mean, my chapter there's some paid employees to help with the program, but it's all for you. So if you are a high school student looking to study anything in architecture, engineering, or construction, or know of somebody that is, let them know about the ACE mentorship program. I am affiliated with the Rhode Island chapter. Um, sorry, Boston. And I'm on the board there. I'm trying to participate in making it a useful program so we can reach more kids and do more good. So it's part of that uh, getting out there, getting to know people, but this program will amplify that because the entire purpose of the 2 hour a week program is for professionals like myself to talk to you about anything that you want to know about AEC, and then in the meantime, do a project from start to finish. So you will know all the players, all the parts and pieces. And if you spend 4 years there, you're going to know a lot of people and you're going to have a very good idea, especially if you figure out that AEC is not for you. That's also very valuable. Um, so highly recommend that. Check it out. And then I'm owner and operator of NLS Engineering, and that's my focus. And I didn't see myself uh, not going anywhere, but not getting where I wanted to go, uh, being a part of a company. So I started my own. Um, and I'm 4 months in, and I'm having a great time. I love being broke right now and happy, and doing my own thing, than making tons of money being a senior engineer and working for somebody else. Even though the companies I've worked for have been great, I just had to start my own. So that's what I'm up to, and that takes all of my time.
Yeah, man. I mean, some people are meant to run the firms, some people are meant to work at them, and you need both, right? You need people that just want security. They want to come in, do their thing, learn, grow, and go home at the end of the day, right? It's a heavy burden to be in charge of the firm and making money and bringing it all in for everybody and having your name on everything at the end of the day, because even when you stamp drawings within a firm, it's the firm's insurance, not yours.
Yeah,
That takes it is your name, but it's the firm's insurance that covers you from any mistakes that you make. It's not like you got to pay for them when you make.
right. Love it. Oh, and I'm just showing my I'm just a noob at being a guest. So, of course, if it's okay and you can clip me out, but I have a podcast of my own and it's focused on or it's called The Impactful Engineer. You'll see me on there with long hair, and my brother Steve. We co-host this show. It's for the engineer looking for a way to accelerate their career if they want to, and they will choose to take action on it. That's who it's for. Um, so that's the impactful engineer. And you can find that anywhere. I mean, if you can't Google it and find it, then I don't know if you should be listening to the show. But yeah, that's also another project that it's tied into the ACE mentorship program as far as wanting to give back and mentor people through podcasts because it's free and easy for me to do, and hopefully it has a high impact.
Cool, man. No, it's all good. Awesome. Jake, thank you so much for coming on the Construction Corner podcast. And guys, until next time.